Hello, everyone. My name is Aaron Christensen. This is Horror 101 with Dr. AC, and this is Scare-A-Thon 2023, benefiting the Women's Reproductive Rights Assistance Project. The link to donate is below in the description for this video. And I'm super excited. We're going to be talking about Renfield from earlier this year, 2023 release, starring Nicolas Cage, Nicholas Hoult, and Awkwafina. And here to talk to me about Renfield is my awesome panel consisting of Kevin Matthews, Mandy Walsh, Daniel Millhouse, Eric Anderson, and Eric Fritzius. We have a full house to talk about Renfield from 2023. All right, let's dive in, folks. When I first saw this advertised, I was kind of like, okay, Nicolas Cage is Count Dracula. This could go one of two ways. And for me, it went the right way. I was happy with where this film ended up. Eric Fritzius, can I jump down to you? Since you texted me yesterday and went like, I want to talk about this movie.
Yeah, I just happened to be watching it and was like, well, I know Aaron's doing this one. At least I've seen it. So if he has anybody drop out, all of a sudden I can step in, and it seems to be the case.
Lo and behold,
you were watching the same movie at the same time.
I was out. That's true. I was literally in the closing scene of watching Renfield when Eric texted me. I'm like, I'll get back to you in just a second. I got to finish watching the movie. Let's jump over to Eric Anderson.
Yes. I love this movie. I saw it in the theater and I've seen it 2 more times since.
Excellent.
Yep.
Daniel?
I'm in the same boat. This is my 3rd time watching the movie. I saw it in the theater. The only comment I had made when I was watching it at home was the graphics actually I thought looked better than they did in the movie theater. I think just that smaller screen made it seem a little bit more less CGI'd. I had thought a little bit more practical. A little
compacted.
Yeah.
Mandy?
I really enjoyed watching the movie. Is it my favorite movie? No. I think it was executed really well. I just have some issues with the script, but that's just me.
And Kevin?
I really love this movie, and I'm happy that we're generally in the positive side because I thought there might be a little bit more friction on this one. So we'll see what points come up. But capital L, love this movie.
Yeah, I had a really good time. I thought Nicolas Cage was going to go a different direction. I actually really liked that he went. It's this blend between Bela Lugosi and Max Schreck and Christopher Lee and Nicolas Cage. And I thought that was a really fun thing to watch him, not just go full like Vampire's Kiss Nicolas Cage, but to really kind of really shaping a character. I was really pleased with that. But the secret weapon for me is Nicholas Hoult doing a Hugh Grant impression from the early 90s. I was like, oh, I love that Hugh Grant from the 1990s. And there you go. Thank you. That was super fun.
There were some scenes with Nicholas Hoult where I was like, was this shot in like pickups after the rest of the script was filmed? Because his hair length was not consistent. Even after, he got a haircut and plastered it down, it kept moving around. Sometimes it would be down to his chin. Sometimes it would be up here. It'd be wonderful.
That's Hugh Grant for you right there. Kevin, what do you love about this movie?
I genuinely love everything about this movie. It's ridiculous. This was my second viewing. I didn't get along to the cinema to see this, so I got it at home. So I haven't seen the difference between the effects on the big screen and the small screen, but I know what Daniel means. That can happen sometimes. Objectively, I can stand back and see why so many elements could put people off, even some people who just automatically don't necessarily like Cage as a lead actor. But the genre blend, the extreme amount of bloodshed, the performance from both Hoult and Cage, it's a perfect mishmash of everything I like in just the right proportions.
We should also mention Awkwafina. I think Awkwafina does a great performance. But I really like the conceit that Renfield played by Nicolas Hoult, is the assistant to Dracula, but that he's in a dysfunctional relationship. He's in an abusive relationship. And I just like that that's how they are coming at it, is, just finding your inner power to stand up to that toxic relationship and say no more. I mean, to the point that they have, him going to support groups. That's how the film opens, is him in a support group with his toxic relationship. And I was like, because it does speak to, it's a vocabulary that is starting to become more and more commonplace, that we talk about toxic relationships and we talk about narcissists and things like that. And it's kind of like, this feels very much a movie of its time, but in a really positive way. I don't think that this is going to become dated. I don't think we're going to stop talking about narcissism and toxic relationships. Daniel, what was your experience like when you saw it in the theater? Was it with a good crowd, and like, was everybody having a good time?
No, it was. I think I was the only one in the theater. So I guess the theater was having a great time. I was having a great time. But yeah, there was no one else around. I think I went, in like noon, around a lunchtime.
Well, I also feel like this one it did just kind of come and go. It wasn't like a huge box office hit.
No, well, and I thought the same thing when I watched it last night, that I saw 2023 again on it. And I went, oh my gosh, that's right. That came out this year. And the only thing I remember when it came out was thinking, I feel like it was a missed opportunity that it came out at the beginning of the year instead of right now.
Right? Yeah.
Which might be why it was only in the theater for a brief amount of time. I didn't understand why the release date was what it was. But I made sure to go out, see it in the theater. I had watched the Bram Stoker's Dracula in preparation, Interview with the Vampire. I was watching a bunch of vampire flicks to prepare, since this is kind of a sequel of the Bela Lugosi.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. No, it is definitely continuing that relationship forward. And I love that, like the best that Renfield can do, because there aren't any castles to be found in New Orleans. He's going to find this old deserted housing project and, live down in the basement of it. And you can just see like how like disappointed Dracula is in like, really, this is the best. You bring me these losers to dine on. I'm in this shitty basement of this housing project. I'm just like, and I love that he knows he's meant for more. He knows he deserves better.
He's got that great throne, though, Dracula, of all the blood packets.
Blood
Yeah.
The acting is kind of key to the success of this, in that there are genuine relationships. Awkwafina plays a New Orleans police officer who is trying to take down the mob, and it's just too corrupt, and the police force is just completely in the mob's pocket, and she can't make any difference. But her father was killed by the mob, and she really wants to do something. So she's struggling with that whole business, talk about a toxic relationship. But then she and Renfield end up kind of taking out this bar full of mobsters, and they form an alliance there. And they see kind of the hero in each other, which is nice and fun and empowering. But the action scenes are totally super fun. It's like, that's the other thing I loved about it.
Yeah, I love how the action just went fully, completely, ridiculously over the top.
And gory.
Yeah, that's cool.
Super gory.
I remember early reviews for this talking about it being super gory and really underlining the point. And I was like, well, there's a certain amount of gore you get with Dracula in general. How gory is it really going to be? Yeah.
Well, I think that's it. Like, it takes kind of the Kingsman model of like action, where it's one guy fighting a bunch of different people with found objects and things like that. But it takes it to the next level where, like a serving platter, like severs, people's arms, and, people get decapitated, and people's heads explode when you punch them. And I really like the fact that it leaned into both the horror and the action and the comedy. And I feel like it does all three really well.
Mm-hmm.
They set a great base reality in the film. Even, punching a head off a guy, he still is shocked at himself that he does that.
And the fact that like Renfield, they incorporate, I think it's a very smart screenplay as well. Like, it incorporates all the lore. Like, what we know about Renfield is from the Lugosi version is that he's creepy, and he has the creepy laugh, and he falls under the thrall of Dracula, and he likes eating flies and spiders. And you're kind of like, well, what does he like about eating flies and spiders? And we get an answer to that here. He's like a little, he's a mini vampire, because he's not a full vampire. He's a familiar, but he still gets the same power by consuming living creatures' life force. And, the fact that he has to run around with a little vial full of bugs, kind of like his underdog, vitality pill or Popeye spinach, like that's his secret weapon.
Which I think is a take on the vampire lore that I've not seen before.
Me neither. I think it's really inventive and well done, and throughout the movie in a way that doesn't feel too much like they're smug and winking and trying to be too cool for school. I like that, because the obvious one is, the welcome mat, welcome high. At that moment when Dracula's in and Renfield looks down, he's like, as if he's thinking right then, I knew I shouldn't have got that mat. But was making his face nice. And it's an obvious thing that that's probably been used somewhere in literature or movies before, but it's a fun way to allow that encounter to go on from there.
I have not seen that before, and I've seen a few vampire movies, and I'm kind of like, why has the welcome mat never been used before? I just it's just a standing invitation.
It has fun with the rules, but keeps them in place.
At the encounter group, where he's like, welcome, and you're like, God damn it. and that's where I go back to Nicolas Cage's performance. Like, he has so many levels where he has just the briefest look, or the, oh shoot, I wish I hadn't said that, or like watching him have that internal struggle, that stammering Hugh Grant thing, that is both endearing but frustrating. And I think that's having Awkwafina, who's just such a powerhouse presence and performance, and just steadfast and obnoxious, like she just she comes and she's a perfect foil to him, but she can also be impressed by the supernatural.
Yeah, 100%. I think that's where my frustration with the movie comes in, is that you have these three characters of Dracula, Renfield, and Awkwafina's character. I feel bad that I do not remember her name.
Remember her name either.
Rebecca.
Thank you. It's Rebecca. There we go.
Rebecca. There are these three powerhouse characters, and I feel like you're not quite sure who's changing who. And I actually kind of wanted it to be a series as opposed to a 2-hour movie. I'm not sure whose story it actually is. So I think like there was so much room to expand upon it, and it just felt kind of rushed to me. But I had a ball watching it. I mean, I feel like if I'm going to have a complaint, this is a good complaint to have, of like, I actually wanted a little bit more out of it, especially since you have two canon characters in Renfield and Dracula. Like, I kind of wanted more of Renfield, to be honest, because Nicolas Hoult is so delightful. So delightful.
Nicolas Hoult, I mean, the fact that he's top billed makes total sense to me, because it is absolutely his story. He's the titular character. And in some ways, I'm really glad that he doesn't get overshadowed by Cage, which, it could have been a challenge, like for him to be able to own the movie the way he does, I think it's a testament to him, but it's also a testament to our director, who knew how to balance the energy.
And also, I think it's just brilliant to have it be Renfield and not make Dracula the spotlight of the film, because we all know the lore of Dracula, and Renfield is always the weird character that we know eats bugs.
Right. Those two are reversed in this case, where we don't know the lore, but do we need another Dracula movie is the real question. The answer is probably not, but we absolutely needed a Renfield movie. And here it is.
I don't know how others feel. My one sort of gripe, and I like the actor in general, but it's the character played by Ben Schwartz, who seems to be, for the most part, the only person playing things for comedy. Like that's the beauty of the film. The screenplay's funny, the situations are funny, but Hoult, Cage, even Awkwafina, although she has her share of funny lines, they're generally playing it quite straight. And Schwartz, as much as I like his comedy, it's a little bit sort of unbalancing here. especially when he's on a side that is pitted against our leads.
Because in almost every vampire movie, there's that over-the-top guy who's like off to the side, like Logan, what's his name in Blade, the first one? Like, he's just ridiculous over the top. Like, what are you doing? You're almost in another film, but it adds that like weird spice to it that you're like, yeah, I guess so.
I liked all the actors that played the support group characters. They seem to be having so much fun inhabiting those broken people and the frustration that the spotlight keeps getting yanked away from them by all the drama going on with Renfield.
It's hard to compete with Renfield's drama, but yes, I absolutely love, like, you know, that he consistently interrupts that same woman who's telling, and then she like completely undercuts it and like goes, yeah, of course, I don't deserve to be heard anyway.
I guess my one spoilerish complaint, and it's not even a complaint at this point, but was their resurrection. I was like, oh, you didn't have, you don't, but their performances, especially the lead guy in the support group, I thought paid for the story break for me that, oh, you've resurrected all of them too. Okay.
Yeah. The contrivance in service of a happy ending. I'm kind of like, you know, at that point you've earned enough goodwill that I'm kind of like, yeah, sure, bring them all back. I'm fine with that.
Yeah. Well, my thing about that part is when I first saw it, when, you know, you first just see that they're alive again before it's explained how, at that point I was like, wait, was the rest of the movie just a metaphor about like a regular abusive boss? I was like, oh, nope, they got resurrected with Dracula blood.
Well, it seems like, shouldn't there be some consequences to being resurrected with Dracula blood?
Yes,
you know what I mean?
Yes, there should. Yes, there should.
Right? Okay.
Here's the thing, like ordinarily that would turn you into a vampire, but then you can kill the head vampire and you're released from the curse. So maybe it works.
Oh, that reminds me, my other gripe, or I guess my only gripe, is another spoiler. At the end, when they've killed Dracula and chopped him into pieces and put him in concrete, why did they dump all the concrete down the same drain? Like, spread it out all over the world.
You got to stick the landing, guys. You gotta see it all the way through.
I want to see him going through New Orleans with like wrist rockets, just firing chunks of Dracula into the streets, into the sewers.
That would have been fun.
Into the Mississippi River.
It would take longer for the exposition in the sequel when they have to go over, travel the world.
True.
I would not mind seeing a sequel. At the same time, I don't like sequels, but you know, like what I want to see is Nicolas Hoult do more stuff. Because I was already a big fan of his after, I mean, I feel like the first time I became aware of him as an actor was Mad Max Fury Road. And then he did The Favorite. And then he did The Menu. And then he did this. I was like, oh dear, I think I may be falling in love with you, Nicolas Hoult.
Yeah.
Now you have to go back and watch all of his work as a child actor in England.
Is that right? Did he have a robust...
I mean, he's in About a Boy with Hugh Grant.
Shoot, that's right. Oh my God. Speaking of, that's where he learned all the Hugh Grantisms.
Yes,
right there. Now it all makes sense.
I think he was in. There's a series called Skins that was on for a few years. I think he was doing well in that for some of his teenage years, and I didn't keep track of everything he did, but he's been going for a couple of decades now.
Yeah,
and he's Beast in a couple of X-Men movies too.
He was Beast. He's the younger version, right?
Yeah.
So he's had practice at doing the jumpy fighty thing.
Let's talk about Nicolas Cage, because surprisingly he hasn't dominated the conversation or the movie. So what were people's feelings about? I liked his new look with the shark teeth versus traditional fangs.
He did a great job acting through those prosthetic teeth, because I mean they were not easy. But I think he did a great job. He's Nicolas Cage. It's gonna Nicolas Cage.
I found myself going, I wonder how much of this was ADR'd because of the teeth. But I also see Nicolas Cage as somebody's like, no, let's just get it right with the teeth, you know. But yeah, I was quite pleased with that. But I loved it when he's in his kind of decrepit mode
That was great.
Yeah.
That was kind of my first clue of, oh, I'm really going to enjoy this movie. When it cut to him, just the desiccated, burnt up form, and you're sort of like, yeah, okay, the folks behind this movie know what they're doing.
Well, between that and the recreation of the Bela Lugosi Dracula stuff, I was like, okay, yeah, I'm in.
I think he's wonderful. Can I just admit now, though, I've yet to see Vampire's Kiss, so I can only apologize. And I did go into this hoping to have enough of Cage being Cage, but also not spoiling the film. And I think his performance is genuinely wonderful. I think from the sort of influence of the past to the one part where he plays up some comedy is that encounter with Renfield in his apartment, and that is extra funny for me though, because he plays it up. Just he doesn't really care about what Hoult's trying to tell him, but Hoult hasn't noticed yet. And he's going along, give it the tell me more. And I just love that scene. So it's the one part I'm thinking, I'm glad he went comedic there. The rest is pretty straight, and he's a really good Dracula.
I feel like we're experiencing a Nick Cage renaissance where he's gotten a lot of it out of his system in terms of just choosing projects for the money and or just doing things that are weird for the sake of being weird. And it feels like people are starting to be able to use him, because there was a long time where Nicolas Cage in a movie was a detriment to me. It was a deterrent that I was like, I don't know that I need to see that because Nicolas Cage is in it. But now I'm kind of like, okay, Nicolas Cage used in the right way, I'm in. And we have to talk about Awkwafina. I mean, I realize she's kind of playing, which is kind of what you just said, Kevin. Like, she has lots of funny lines, and yet she's the straightest person in the movie outside of our mob boss, who's wonderful. And I don't dare try and pronounce her name, but if anybody else wants to have a stab at it, please do. Awkwafina is awesome, and I just love that she's really starting to find a place, because there's no reason that character needs to be Asian American. And the fact that they're like, yeah, you could play that, and we can find an Asian American actress to play opposite you, and your dad can have been Asian. I'm like, yes, thank you. Here we go.
Yeah, Asian American and a woman. It could have been, I'm sure it was written as a dude originally. It would not surprise me at all. She's fantastic. There's something about her, like, yes, she's incredibly funny, but she's so grounded in everything that she does that when somebody sees that and utilizes it, she's just fantastic. She sparkles up there.
I am late to the Awkwafina party because I've heard of her for years, but I didn't really know what context she existed in as far as entertainment. I heard Awkwafina and made some assumptions that she was a musician, probably in a genre I don't listen to. So why go down that road? And then I saw her in Shang-Chi.
Yep.
And was like, oh, she's really good. And then she's got a lot of sketch material, like her own sketch show and material online. Just incredible comic timing.
Yeah. Crazy Rich Asians was the first thing that I saw her in. And I was like, oh, well, okay, good on you with your punk name. But you're a solid actress. So, I'm absolutely, I'm glad that she's getting these kind of opportunities, and I think she just nails it here.
Well, she's got 2 albums out.
She is a musician.
Yeah, she's got 2 albums out, and I think she's also in Ocean's 8.
I think it's 8. Yeah, Ocean's 8. I am actually going to try and mangle the name of Shori Agdashlu because
well done, thank you.
I've been a fan of hers for a long time, and her voice is just like someone has buttered my ears and then sat little puppies on my shoulders. Just so she needs name checked, and that's the only reason I would try and mangle her name.
Appreciate it. Well done, because yes, she that voice, I was like, oh wait, that's who you are, because I haven't seen her in a little while. Wasn't she like House of Sand and Fog? I feel like that was where I first saw her for the first time.
I think she's on 24 for a season.
Okay.
Yeah, I think so.
But she's wonderful. Yeah, Ben Schwartz, I think he's such an energetic performer. Kind of like, to your point, Kevin, I didn't mind that he was bringing the comedy, but he also does feel like he's operating at a different tone than everyone else. But I feel like our director uses him well enough that it doesn't feel overpowering or jarring. It just feels like that's the kind of, wisecracking, smart aleck asshole that this guy is.
And he's kind of a wannabe mobster. He clearly doesn't have the notches on his belt as far as kills go.
Right.
He's all bluster, trying to live up to mommy's dream.
Sure.
Again, it's a good screenplay in that regard, because putting him in that moment opposite Awkwafina is a moment that allows you to see why Renfield immediately admires and likes her so much, because she's putting that peril that he would just take the easiest way out of.
I'm glad that we got to have a full house to enjoy some laughs. This is a great. I think this is a great. Who was it? That's Daniel. The idea that this was released in like March or April just feels like such a misstep. Like, this is a great Halloween movie for people who don't necessarily like horror movies. Like, this is a way to engage and be like, hey, we're watching a Dracula movie, but it's not, a scary Dracula movie. It's a fun, there's some splashy gore, but it's not gore that grosses you out. This is going to be a solid October movie for me coming forward, I think.
It does make me wonder what was the lineup before all the strikes for the end of the year here, because there were a lot of scary movies I thought that came out too early in the year that kind of got swept under the rug.
Well, and I don't know what that is, because you could have just held on to them. If you knew the strikes were coming, then why not hold on to them, knowing we're not going to have a lot of content for later in the year.
Yeah.
So, if we got a horror movie, save it for later. But hey, I don't run Hollywood.
Not yet.
Or I wonder if there was too much of a mix as well, because did you know about the excised song and dance moment? You see some images over the end credits.
Yeah, that was cool.
Yeah.
I
can't remember
that.
if it's on the disc or
it is. It is on the disc as an extra. Like, they have a whole whole featurette dedicated to it.
And I'm glad they took that out, because it just, I think for me in the film at that point, it would have been a bit too far, and it's not good.
Well, thanks everybody again. This is Scare-A-Thon 2023, benefiting the Women's Reproductive Rights Assistance Project. The link to donate is below in the description. Please make a contribution. This is a cause that's very important to myself and my guests. And until next time, keep searching, keep exploring, and keep sharing the scare.